What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. And we have a long awaited video. We've gotten a fair amount of comments asking for this, and we're finally doing it. It's our 53-man roster prediction. This is coming out on Monday. We're recording it Sunday night. So if we say something like we say a player, and when this is uploaded, on Monday, and it's like, oh, that player's already been cut. Sorry, we're uploading it in advance. We just wanted to wait for like the JK news before we recorded it. And so then we're like, all right, let's post it the day before the rosters are due. And just kind of a heads up, if you guys didn't know, on the Baltimore Ravens app, you can win like Chiefs tickets and like a Rashad Bateman autograph if you like have like the best prediction, for the 53-man roster. So if you haven't done that, go check it out. As somebody who has won Ravens prizes before, I recommend submitting your entry because there's always that shot that you can win. Yeah, so that's kind of the intro. In terms of this, I don't know how Joshua approached it. We haven't talked to each other about our list. All we've done is we've both done it. We'll go position group by position group. But like for me, it wasn't just like a what I think they will do. It was also a lot of what I think they should do. So if you have like players, you're like, oh, you really left this guy out, he should make the team. Let us know if you have a player like that, and let us know if you think like, why that is. I see a lot of times people will say like, oh no, this guy should make the team. And I'm like, okay, but why, who would you take out if they're going to make the team? Because that's always a big trade-off. We can't just have, 60 players because believe me, I would have 60 players on my list if I could. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll go through, the full roster and everything like that. But we'll start off with, I'll say it's the second easiest position group. I think special teams is probably the easiest to predict.
Mhm.
But the quarterback position, Joshua, who do you have making the roster? Pretty tough one.
Honestly, man, I don't think it's pretty tough, but I do feel like we will have all three quarterbacks going into this season. The reason I say that because yes, even though Tyler Huntley did prove that he can be the number two quarterback, you never know what can happen and how far as injuries and things of that nature. We saw, last night, and you never can be too sure. So I mean, usually in the NFL, you usually see a team with three quarterbacks. We have been doing it, with RG3 and Trace McSorley. So I do feel like, with having Tyler Huntley and Trace McSorley, the Ravens are comfortable enough with those two guys to run the offense. Now I know Ravens fans, y'all do not feel as comfortable with those guys maybe taking us to a playoff Super Bowl, which is totally understandable. But I feel like, Tyler Huntley and Trace can manage the game enough to get us a win. Now, not saying, knock on wood, not saying Lamar Jackson will take a season into injury or anything of that nature, but it may have to be it may be that 2000 Super Bowl all over again. You never know. Subpar QB play, but great defense leading the way. And
Yeah.
I feel like those two are subpar quarterbacks, and they can get the job done.
Yeah, I have a different list. I just have Lamar and Tyler
Mhm.
Huntley. My expectation is Trace McSorley as a practice squad player. I don't think he's shown enough, off the bat for him to be somebody that the Ravens are worried about, not clearing waivers.
Right.
So I feel like, there's a very good chance that when he gets healthy, the Ravens do end up saying, hey, you want to come back onto the 53-man roster. But I don't know. I don't know if they're willing to. I mean, you could very well be right. There is a good chance that they have three quarterbacks. But I just have Lamar and Tyler. I feel like Tyler just emulates what Lamar does. I think he showed in the preseason game against Washington. Like he's good. This
Yeah.
guy knows what he's doing. He can come in and run the Ravens offense pretty well. But I do like Trace. Trace is good for certain situations. But looking at the next running back position, this is the one that's obviously one of the most talked about, the running back spot. Who do you have making it as the running backs on this team?
Um, as we already know, JK, aka Ray Rice 2.0, is going to be IR for the season. We do pray for him to have a speedy recovery. I know they're going to be doing some more looking at that knee because it may be something else outside of the ACL that may have gotten torn as well that could that could end up him having a longer recovery time. I do hope it. I do hope that's not the case though. But far as running backs, um, Augustus Edwards, of course. I have Nate McQuarrie and Tyshawn Williams and Justice Hill. For the simple fact, Justice Hill will be part of the special teams. I know everybody's talking about releasing the guy. I don't see him being used anymore as an offensive weapon. Nate McCurry showed that he can be used more on the special teams. He does have soft hands. He knows how to move the ball forward. Tyshawn Williams is being a running back number two. He shows that he can run very aggressively. How to keep his feet moving. He doesn't. He loves to keep his shoulder pads down, and he knows how to take a hit and also lay the hit as well and keep moving up the field. So, I feel like we got that behind our power back. We got another power back, and also we have another change of pace running back as well. So, I do feel like those will be those guys that would be on the team.
Yeah, I also put all four running backs, and I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw last year in
Mhm.
terms of late in the year, where I think Nate McCrary kind of takes on that Mark Ingram role that he had, where it was like we really barely saw him, unless both of the top tier running back Gus and J.K. last year were really gassed. It was like, oh, he'd
Yeah,
come in for like a couple of plays. I think that's very possible. And Mark Ingram didn't play special teams last year. Neither did Gus Edwards. Or at least I'm pretty sure. There may have been like a situation where it happened, but I highly doubt it. And then they
right.
were like, Justice Hill was on special teams. So we had four running backs on the roster last year. Only one played special teams. And then I just feel like Gus Edwards is going to take over that J.K. Dobbins role that he had at the end of last year, where he was starting to become not a workhorse back, but he was getting, maybe 60% of the carries rather than, the 40 that he was getting early in the year. So I think Gus is probably take about 60% of those carries, maybe closer to 65, getting closer to 70, and then Tyson Williams will be that number two guy. But I do hope Nate McCray gets some opportunities, but I just think right now I like all four making the roster because I know a lot of people are like, oh, we should cut Justice Hill. Justice Hill won't clear waivers. Every team needs help on the special team side, and we would not be able to keep him on our practice squad at all. So we need him to stay on the roster.
Right.
Whereas, like, if one guy wasn't going to make the team, I would think it's Nate McCrary because I don't think he would. I think he would clear waivers and he could make it to the practice squad. But I just think that the Ravens really like having the four running backs because of how often they run the ball. And if hopefully it doesn't happen, knock on wood, but if Gus or Tyson Williams were to get injured, having Justice Hill playing, full-time special teams and being a, 50% of the rushes,
That scares me.
that's way too much work for one player. So the Ravens use their running backs more than any other team in the NFL, and so they need they need that depth. So we agree right there. In terms of wide receivers, what do you have in the wide receivers?
Honestly, I feel like we're going to agree on this one too. Of course, we're going to have Rashad Bateman, Hollywood, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet II, Tylen Wallace, and Sammy Watkins. I actually see Miles Boykins possibly being IR, Deion Kane, cut, Jalen Moore, and Benjamin Victor. Those two young men, well, Jalen Moore showed a little more of what he can do and what he can bring to the team. I do see him being possibly practice squad. If they were to keep, if they were to keep seven wide receivers, I see them actually bringing Benjamin Victor on. Yes, he played one game this past Saturday, but every time he caught the ball, he showed his yards after the catch. He showed that he has strong hands. He's 6'4". He's not scared to go across the middle and get the ball, and he's not scared to lay the boom as well. So I mean, as a Ravens offense, when you look at those type of tangibles and things of that nature, that's what you like to see in a Ravens wide receiver. So if he was to make that squeeze out, they were to do seven wide receivers. I actually see Benjamin Victor being a number seven.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really like Benjamin Victor. My players that I got at wide receiver: Hollywood, Watkins, Bateman, Duvernay, Prochet, and Wallace. What I expect to happen is I expect them to IR Miles Boykin. If they do not IR Miles Boykin, I believe that he will make the team. And that would have to take out somebody else. I just think that that's what the Ravens want to do. They really like his blocking. He was hurt. There's a chance that he was playing well. He definitely had some good practices that I read about. He just didn't get an opportunity to play in the preseason,
Hmm.
and he has that blocking. But if he does get IR'd and we do keep 7, I still do think Benjamin Victor is the guy to keep. Just I love his size, and he really only had one game where he was given like a full opportunity. That was
Absolutely.
the third preseason game, and he looked pretty darn good. He was making good catches. Deion Kane, I like Deion Kane. That dude couldn't catch anything with Tyler Huntley. That was like the least dynamic duo I've ever seen with a quarterback and wide receiver.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I liked him. I really thought he had an opportunity, but um, I don't really see it. But getting into the next kind of position group, I'll add fullback to it. Let's go tight end and fullback
Okay.
to make the team. Who do you got at those spots?
All right. As far as tight end and fullbacks, of course, I'm going with Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, Josh Oliver, and Patrick Ricard. I really don't see them having 2 fullbacks going into the season. I don't feel like it's necessary. And honestly, Ben Mason didn't show that much. I mean, I'm glad that he was able to get some snaps in these past 2 games and even carry the ball. But as far as that third tight end, I definitely feel like Josh Oliver has solidified that spot. Tomlinson didn't do enough to be that third tight end going into the regular season. I feel like if they need another tight end during the season, he'll be available to be called up and things of that nature. But y'all know the Ravens. I'm not going to say they're tight end you, but they definitely know how to groom tight ends and know how to find guys that can become tight ends.
Absolutely. I'm in complete agreement. I really only see us keeping 3 tight ends. I don't see the need to have Ben Mason on the team. He just my entire once he was drafted, I had said this plenty of times. I don't think Patrick Ricard is here next year. I think Ben Mason takes over that job there. The fullback position isn't one that's highly sought after, so I guess there's a chance he doesn't clear waivers, but I do expect him to clear waivers just because how many teams are like, we need a fullback? It's
Yeah,
not that many. So I think that he'll be a practice squad guy. If Ricard goes down or something like that, he can definitely step in, come in. If a special teams player goes down, he can definitely step in. But overall, I just don't see Ben Mason making the team.
yeah.
2 Ravens draft picks, I believe I don't have making the team, and obviously one of them is Sean Wade, who can't make the team, and then I got Ben Mason. But Ben Mason, it was a long-term pick. It was not a instant impact type of pick. But
Right.
let's get into one. I think it's probably the hardest position group to select in the offensive lineman.
We
Um,
haven't seen that much, so definitely, yeah, I agree.
like it was just very difficult for me. This was definitely the hardest one for me to do, and so I don't know. It was just very tough, and I definitely struggled with it. But who did you have? Do we want to go like position by position, like tackles, guard, or do we just want to name everybody?
We can just name everybody.
All right, name everybody. That sounds good.
Okay, you going first or I'm going first?
I can go first on this one. So first off, Villanueva, Stanley, Bozeman, Zeitler, and Powers. That seems to be the offensive line that the Ravens have been rocking with. I don't love Ben Powers. However, the Ravens seemingly do. He has that NFL experience. Then in the backup spots, I have Ben Cleveland, I have Ben Bredeson, I have Pat McCarry, and I have Tyree Phillips. And that one of the biggest reasons that I like all those guys is Macari and Phillips can play anywhere on the offensive line. Phillips can't play center though, but Macari can play everywhere. So there's a lot of like different things that can be going on. And then we have a lot of, other guard depth. So if a tackle goes down, we have Phillips or Macari. If a guard goes down, we got Cleveland, Bredeson, or Macari or Phillips. Like I feel like that gives really good versatility. There were other players I looked at. Jawan James was a late cut for me. That was one of the tougher ones. I was thinking maybe we really keep another tackle, but I just felt like we had other positions that I would rather hold on to. But who did you end up having?
All right. So I actually did Bradley Bozeman, Ben Cleveland, Jawan James, Patrick McCarry, Tyree Phillips, Ben Powers, Ronnie Stanley, uh, Alejandro Villanueva, and Kevin Zeitler. Now, the only reason I picked Jawan James is because, they brought him on for the simple fact, we already know he's going to be out for this year. He's going to be IR, so, he's pretty much going to be on the team. I forgot how his I think he's one of those future guys. The way his contract is worked out, guys. If when you listen to this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his contract is something like that.
Are
But
you talking about Villanueva?
no, Jawan James.
Oh, Juwan James. Yes, I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like definitely feel like he makes the team just off the strength of that, and be IR. So I mean that definitely opens up some space for if anybody gets cut from someone else, then we can add on another guy. But that Ben Powers at the left guard, man. I don't know what the Ravens are seeing. Shout out to Brad Johnson yesterday in the live stream. That did point out that those two sacks, even though they were coverage sacks yesterday, it did come off the left side, the interior left side, and Ben Powers with the left guard. Right now, we don't, you know, out of your starting line, you don't need to see that. We're trying to make it to the Super Bowl. We're trying to show that hey, this year is going to be different from last year. We don't need our star quarterback running like a chicken with his head cut off, running for his life, things of that nature. We want him to be in that in that backfield, in the pocket, feeling safe and secured. We want to give him as much time as we can possible, and we want to keep him clean. So, I definitely feel like, they possibly he possibly cleans up his act, but don't be surprised, at the game 2 or 3 that Ben Cleveland comes in and takes over. Now, the Makari and Tyree Phillips move, those the swingmen. I don't like Tyree Phillips at a tackle. He plays better as an interior offensive lineman, but we have seen it that they have used him. He tried to use his athleticism to the best of his ability, and he tried to put his body on somebody. I love when he picks up the fumbles and move forward. Hopefully we can see that again this year. He doesn't get a concussion. Patrick McCarry, if he was to play center, I hope he keeps the snaps down. But I definitely feel like he's good at every other position. He knows how to hold his own. I definitely I respect Bradley Bozeman just the way he's been honing that center position this year and this offseason, and how he's been going to get those reps in with Lamar Jackson, so that their communication and connection is like that. So I definitely love what we're doing. I like to see, I'm looking forward to Monday Night Football and seeing how that offensive line comes together.
Absolutely. Now transitioning over to the defense. Let's start with the D line. I was very surprised, but I didn't have very many D linemen, and I was like, "What's going on here?" But then I remembered that Ravens have outside linebackers as their edge guys, so I wasn't too worried. But my guys were Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, Madubuike, and Broderick Washington. All guys that I really like, all guys that I think can do a very good job. However, if you're concerned about the depth, we also do have Patrick Ricard on the roster, who can
Yeah.
also play on that defensive line as well. But then also remember, a lot of times Houston's lining up on the line, Oway's lining up on the line, McPhee's lining up on the line. So when we get to I got a lot of linebackers. If you're concerned, there's a lot of edge guys and things like that I have in the linebacker group. But who do you have at the D line spot, Joshua?
Right now, it was hard to leave him out. Right now, I have Calais Campbell, Justin Metabuke, Patrick Ricard, Broderick, Brandon Williams, and Derek Wolf. I've said this before, in the stream. I'm totally fine with Justin Metabuke and Broderick Washington leading that interior defensive line. Those guys are young. Those guys know how to. I'm not going to say they are run stoppers, but you definitely can train them up to become run stoppers. If you've seen it, Broderick Washington was getting into the backfield all this preseason, and when Justin Metabuke last season was getting into the game, he those was valuable minutes for him, and he made sure his presence was known. Um, I wanted to add Jelly Roll, Justin Ellis on there, but I feel like he may be, just a casualty and might get cut. Um, we gotta remember that we got our old heads in Brandon Williams, Calais Campbell, and Derek Wolf. Derek Wolf he's just one of those guys that shows up. You
Yeah.
forget his name, but at the end of the day, it's like him and like Pernell McPhee. Those guys, when it's time to make a play, they'll show up and give you a play. So
Absolutely. So speaking of Pernell McPhee, let's look at the linebacker core, which includes the edge rushers that the Ravens use. Why don't you go first, Joshua? Let's see who you have.
All right, y'all. Don't get mad at me now. So I'm going with Chris Board, Tyrus Bowser, Justin Houston, Malik Harrison, Dalen Hayes, Pernell McPhee, Odafia Way, Patrick Queen, and Chris Smith. I feel like Chris Board can actually be moved into the inside linebacker position just because, well, me personally, I'm big on Anthony. Anthony,
Anthony Levine. Yeah.
there we go. I'm big on the move of Anthony Levine to the inside linebacker. I feel like he could definitely step up and give you some reps on with that second team. But Tyus, Justin, Odafe, those young guys, they're definitely calling Justin Houston, Yoda, they're actually following him. I don't feel like Jalen Ferguson, aka Slack Daddy, aka, no, only one technique, the list can go on and on and on and on. I don't feel like he gets it. I don't feel like he understands. I don't feel like, he makes the roster. I mean, if they still feel like this young man has potential, then hey, by all means, keep him on, as another body. But between Dalen and Adafi, in my opinion, I feel like they will both take a lot of his minutes, especially Adafi. Don't Adafi's not going to be a 10 plus sack guy, at least not yet. He's there to cause disruption. He's there to get in the backfield. His play, his profile is going to cause, him to be covered a lot, and it's going to open up the space. It's going to open up the gaps and holes for everybody else around him. So, expect Dalen Hayes, expect, Justice Houston, expect Tyus Bauer, Pernell McPhee, the interior guys, even our linebackers to get some sacks on the quarterback and allow pressure, because everybody is scared of what this young man can do. So those my linebackers right there. And then I love this PQ Malik Harrison duo. This is something exciting to see. And if they can keep this going for years to come for the Ravens, you might see 2 or 3 Super Bowls in the next couple of years for the Ravens. Honestly.
Oh yeah, I love the confidence. So for my linebackers, my inside linebackers, I have Queen, Harrison, and Board. And then, my outside linebackers, I've got Tyus Bowser, Justin
Mhm.
Houston, Adafe Way, Dalen Hayes, Pernell McPhee, and Magnet Man, because he sticks to the offensive lineman blocking him. Jalen Ferguson. I do have him making the team.
That was a good one.
I'm still a believer in Jalen Ferguson.
Okay.
Okay. I know right now he hasn't shown a ton, but in the preseason, there were a lot of holds that didn't go his way. And I feel like, he sets the edge well. He's able to stop the run. I feel like he's worth keeping in case he can make that next step. And I think that's worth the risk, of having a roster spot. But that's one that I definitely, comment down below what your thoughts are on Jalen Ferguson. Should he make the team and stuff like that? And, with any players, if you're like, oh, wow, they shouldn't have made the team or they should have made the team, let us know. But let's get into the final position group and let's talk about, or I guess, okay, let's do the special teams. Can we just agree that we both have Tucker, Cook, and Nick Moore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty obvious. I didn't expect anybody to have Verity making the team. So let's get into the final position group and let's go to the secondary. If we can, let's try and just do the cornerbacks first.
Okay.
I can go first in terms of the cornerbacks. So I got Marlon, Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, Tavon Young, Anthony Averett, and Chris Westry. I only got 6 guys, but I feel like, some of the guys that I have at safety can absolutely step into the slot and, play that role as well if something happened. But also Marlon can play in the slot as well. So those are my secondary pieces. I only got 6 in the corners, but who do you got, Joshua?
Okay, I got Anthony Avery. I guess they're going by alphabetical order. Marlo, Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, Brandon Stevens, Chris Westry, and Tavon Young.
Yep. That's what I got.
Yeah, I think we're good on the corners.
Oh, yeah. And then in terms of safety, I have Brandon Stevens. I put him in the safety spot.
Okay.
He's listed as a corner and a safety on, wherever you're, looking. He's listed as both. But, secondary player, Brandon Stevens. Then I obviously got Chuck Clark, Joker. Then I have Anthony Levine and Joshua. I love what you were talking about. Him possibly being, that other, inside linebacker. If, somebody was to get injured, they need a couple plays. He used to be a linebacker. He transitioned to a safety, but he's really a special teams player. I think he's critical to the special teams. CoCap is a big part of this team. And then Ardarius Washington. I feel like he's the guy that can absolutely play out of the slot for the Ravens and actually be very good at it, as well as be a playmaker, as like a deep safety type of player. So that's who I got as the safeties. No Geno Stone, no Nigel Warrior. I know those were guys that a lot of Ravens fans were really high on, but you only get 53, and it's really tough. This is a really good roster.
Yeah, so I got Chuck, Joker, Anthony Levine as well, Ardarius. Now, I'm actually keeping Geno Stone, and yeah, I'm actually at 52 players. So I honestly have one more I can actually pick, but so I didn't do half bad. I mean, honestly, like I said, man, I feel like Geno Stone will make the roster just for the depth. We saw what happened last year with the secondary. You never know, and the good thing about these guys that they can play a little. They're interchangeable pieces. They can play a little bit of corner. Ardarius Washington definitely showed that he can, he can play corner and stick with wide receivers, and get a back down or even an interception. Geno Stone, the way the defense move and how they attack opposing offenses. I don't mind a guy that could just be there at the right place at the right time, as long as you can make a play. I said it I said it yesterday in the stream. I'd rather a guy be there at the right place, right time, versus a guy being draped over a wide receiver and can't break up the pass. We can't go through that, and we can't have that. I'm tired of seeing, as a Ravens fan, I'm tired of seeing guys that get the ball caught on them, the wide receivers bouncing off, and they going into the house for the touchdowns. Shout out to that game to Eric Weddle and CJ Mosley that let a one-legged wide receiver do that to them. A 5'10" wide receiver do that to them. But neither here or there. I definitely feel like the secondary is one of our strongest parts of our defense. We definitely showed that we belong. We can play with some of these air raid teams. Now I feel like that front seven will finally match that, and we're going to continue doing what we do, which is wreak havoc, cause turnovers, and solidify some wins, some W's, man.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Make sure to subscribe for Daily Ravens content. We really want to see those, thoughts and opinions. But we're very excited to see what it is. The final 53-man roster. Hopefully, somebody watching this video wins the the Ravens prize, get those Chiefs Ravens tickets and stuff like that. But thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe, and we will see all of you again next time.